My father smiled as he raised his glass. The room already leaning toward him. Already ready to laugh. Now this, he said, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder, is my younger daughter. Not exactly the one we brag about. But she insisted on coming anyway. The laughter came fast. Polite. Controlled. Cruel in the way only polite laughter can be. Then Daniel Carter, my sister's fiancé, stepped forward. Hand extended. Easy confidence. He froze. His eyes dropped. My posture. My insignia. He stepped back. And then in front of everyone, he saluted. "Ma'am," he said. "Admiral." Just like that, my father's world cracked. The chandelier light felt too bright. That's what I remember first. Not the laughter. Not the silence that followed. It was the light. Golden. Expensive. Deliberate. Pouring down over polished marble floors and carefully arranged flowers. Illuminating every face in that room. No place to hide. I didn't move. I didn't react. I simply stood exactly where my father had positioned me. Slightly behind him. Slightly to the side. Not part of the center. Never part of the center. His fingers pressed lightly against my shoulder. Like he was reminding me where I belonged. "Relax," he added. Just loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "She takes things too seriously. Always has." More laughter. A woman in pearls covered her mouth. Smiling into her wine. A man in a tailored suit nodded. Like my father had said something universally understood. I felt the familiar tightening in my chest. Not sharp. Not overwhelming. Just familiar. Recognition. Nothing had changed. Not really. I had spent years telling myself that distance would shift something. That time would soften him. But standing there under that chandelier, surrounded by people who mattered to him, I realized something simple. To my father, I wasn't invisible. I was inconvenient. Daniel stepped forward. Dress uniform straight. Gaze steady. Nothing performative about him. "Daniel," he said. "I've heard a lot about you." I almost smiled. I reached out. His grip firm. Professional. Then something shifted. His eyes didn't leave mine. Not in a social way. He was assessing. The way we're trained to assess. Posture. Bearing. Stillness under pressure. His grip loosened. His gaze dropped briefly to the clean lines of my uniform. Not the obvious details. Something quieter. Then he stepped back. Just a fraction. Enough that the air changed. And then, he saluted. Clean. Precise. Unmistakable. "Ma'am," he said. "Admiral." The room stopped. Not gradually. Completely. The kind of silence that doesn't ask permission. I heard a glass clink in the distance. A breath caught too sharply. My father's hand fell from my shoulder. I didn't look at him. I kept my eyes on Daniel. Because I recognized that moment. Truth surfacing without warning. His salute held for exactly the right length. Then he lowered his hand. "Apologies," he added. "Didn't expect to meet you here." I nodded once. "No need," I said quietly. Behind us, the room began to breathe again. Whispers. Low. Uncertain. "Admiral?" Did he just say that? I turned then. Not toward the crowd. Toward my father. Charles Weston stood exactly where he had been. Glass still in hand. Posture still upright. But something in his expression had fractured. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes anymore. "Daniel," he said, forcing lightness into his voice. "You must be mistaken. Daniel didn't rush. He didn't backtrack. He glanced at me. A question. Permission. I gave the smallest shake of my head. Not now. Not like this. He understood. Perhaps, he said evenly. Wouldn't be the first time I've misread a situation. Perfect answer. Neutral. Respectful. But the word had been spoken. Admiral. Words like that don't disappear. My father let out a short laugh. Too quick. Too sharp. Well, he said. Let's not get carried away. My daughter has always had a flair for dramatics. A few people chuckled. Not all of them this time. I could feel it. The shift. The room was no longer leaning entirely toward him. I stepped back. Just enough to reclaim my own space. I think I'll get some air, I said. No one stopped me. Because for the first time since I had walked into that house, I wasn't the least important person in the room. I moved through the hallway quietly. Past framed photographs of a life I had never quite belonged to. My sister's graduation. My father's awards. Charity galas. There were no photos of me. Not recent ones. The front door opened with a soft click. Cool evening air. The faint scent of cut grass. I exhaled slowly. My hands were steady. But beneath that, something had shifted. Not anger. Not satisfaction. Clarity. Because for years I had believed the conflict between my father and me was something personal. Something rooted in misunderstanding or disappointment. Standing there in that room, watching that narrative crack in a single unplanned moment, I understood something else. This wasn't about who I was. It was about what he needed me to be. Manageable. Explainable. Contained. And for the first time, that version of me no longer existed. Behind me, the door opened again. You should have said something. My father's voice came tight. Controlled frustration. I faced forward. There wasn't anything to say, I replied. A pause. You embarrassed me, he said. I let that sit between us. I didn't say a word, I said quietly. Silence stretched thicker. He stepped closer. You're going to explain this, he added. I finally turned. Met his eyes. No, I said. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. Back inside, the house sounded different now. Quieter, but the quality had changed. Conversations were tighter. More careful. People were recalibrating. A few guests looked up as I passed. This time, they didn't look through me. They looked at me. I moved toward the back hallway. The walls were lined with photographs. Every image curated. I slowed in front of one frame. My sister Pamela stood in a white dress. My father stood beside her, hand resting proudly at her back. I wasn't in that photo. You're always looking at that one. Pamela's voice came from behind me. I turned. She leaned against the doorway. Arms folded. Expression unreadable. You always stop there, she said. I didn't realize I did. She smiled faintly. You do. Silence settled between us. Familiar. Permanent. Daniel seems impressed, she said after a moment. He's observant. That's one way to put it. She stepped further into the hallway. Heels soft against the wood. Is it true? She asked. The question hung in the air. Carefully neutral. Does it matter? I asked. It might. To Dad. Of course. I nodded once. That sounds right. She exhaled. You could have told us, she added. I considered that. When I asked at Thanksgiving, I said. Right after Dad introduced me as the daughter he had every reason to be proud of. Her jaw tightened. That's not fair. No, I said evenly. It's accurate. She looked away first. Daniel's going to ask more questions, she said. I wouldn't expect him to. And Dad, she hesitated. He's already upset. Already? You know what I mean. I did. My father didn't lose control in public. Not in ways that couldn't be recovered. But I had seen the crack. And so had she. I'm not here to cause problems, I said. She let out a soft breath. You don't have to try. That landed. For my father, my existence had always been disruptive. Even when I wasn't in the room. I should get back, she said. People are asking questions. She paused at the doorway. Just be careful, she added. Not concern. Warning. Then she was gone. I moved upstairs. My old room sat at the end of the corridor. The door opened without resistance. The shelves were empty. The desk cleared. The walls bare. Anything that had once belonged to me had been removed. Carefully. Deliberately. I stepped inside and closed the door. 17. That was the last time I had stood in this room and felt like it might still be mine. The acceptance letter had arrived on a Tuesday. West Point. I brought it downstairs. My father was in the study. Dad, I said. He glanced up. Make it quick. I handed him the letter. He scanned the first line. Then the second. His expression didn't change. You're not going, he said. What? It's not a good fit, he continued. You'll find something more appropriate. Dad, I got in. And you'll decline. I'm not declining. That got his attention. He leaned back slowly. Studying me. Do you have any idea what that environment is like? He asked. The kind of people you'll be surrounded by. Then you should know better, he said. That's not where you belong. Where do I belong? Here, he said. With your family. Silence. Heavy. Defining. I'm going, I said. Something shifted in his expression. Not anger. Something colder. If you walk out that door for this, he said quietly, don't expect us to pretend it's something to celebrate. I'm not asking you to celebrate, I replied. I'm asking you to understand. I understand perfectly, he said. You're making a mistake. Maybe I was. But I knew one thing. If I stayed, I would disappear. So I left. A knock at the door pulled me back. Sharp. Controlled. I didn't need to ask who it was. Come in, I said. My father stood there. We need to talk, he said. Yes, I replied. We do. And this time, neither of us pretended it would be easy. He stepped inside. Closed the door. Still one hand on the knob. Like he hadn't fully decided to stay. Finally, he moved forward. His gaze moved across the room. Taking in the stripped shelves. The empty walls. You've kept it minimal, he said. I don't live here, I replied. No. You don't. Another pause. Explain what happened downstairs. Not a question. Never a question. I leaned lightly against the desk. Arms folded. Grounded. There's nothing to explain, I said. He recognized something. He reacted. That's not how this works, my father snapped. People don't just salute strangers. I'm not a stranger. To him, he pressed. I held his gaze. Number. The word settled between us. Unmovable. He exhaled sharply. Pacing once across the room. You're going to tell me exactly what you've been doing, he said. I almost laughed. People see what they expect to see, I said. And your father expects to see less, Daniel had said earlier. He stepped closer. Voice lowering. You embarrassed me in front of people who matter. I met his eyes without flinching. I didn't say a word, I repeated. That's not the point. No, I agreed. It is. His expression hardened. You've always been difficult, he said. Always pushing. Always resisting. I consider that. Then nodded. Then stopped trying to control me. For a moment, he didn't respond. Then a short, humorless laugh. You think that's what this is, he said. Control? I think that's what it's always been. His eyes narrowed. Everything I've done has been for this family, he said. For stability. For reputation. For me, I finished. That was the second crack. You have no idea what it takes, he said. No, I agreed. But I know what it costs. He shook his head. This isn't over, he said. I know. He turned toward the door. Paused. Be ready to explain yourself tomorrow. The door closed behind him. I exhaled slowly. Beneath that, something had shifted. Not in him. In me. Because for the first time I wasn't waiting for him to understand. The knock came again. Lighter. Daniel Carter stood in the hallway. Do you have a minute? He asked. I stepped aside. He entered. Closing the door with quiet precision. This wasn't a casual conversation. He took a quick look around. Taking in the emptiness. The deliberate removal. That's not how someone gets treated who's done what you've done, he said. Straight to the point. People see what they expect to see, I replied. And your father expects to see less, he said. I didn't need to answer. I need to ask you something, he said. And I need you to answer honestly. I nodded once. Why haven't you corrected him? He asked. I considered it carefully. Because it wouldn't matter, I said. It would matter to me. That's different. He studied me. Then nodded slowly. Yeah, he said. It is. Silence settled. Measured. Intentional. I recognized you, he said. When you stood still like that. When everyone else was reacting. Where? I asked. Kandahar, he said. 2018, joint operation. Extraction went sideways. The memory surfaced. You were in command, he said. You gave the order to pull us out. I did my job, I said. You saved a lot of lives. Your father doesn't know, he said. No, I replied. He doesn't. And you're going to let that continue? I met his gaze. Yes. He studied me carefully. Why? I thought about it. Because it's not about information, I said finally. It's about perception. He waited. He's already decided who I am. Anything I say contradicts that becomes the problem. Daniel nodded slowly. He's going to push harder, he said. After tonight. I know. He's going to try to control the narrative. I know that too. A pause. Then quieter. You don't have to handle that alone. I looked at him. Really looked. Why are you helping me? I asked. He didn't hesitate. Because I don't like watching people get misrepresented, he said. And because I've been on the receiving end of that before. I nodded once. Then we should be careful, I said. He smiled faintly. I was hoping you'd say that. He pulled out his phone. Tapped the screen. Handed it to me. A document. Official. Clean. Recognition report. After action summary. My name. My command. My decision. You don't need to use it, he said. I handed the phone back. No. But you might. No? I said. How then? We don't correct him, I said. We let him reveal himself. A slow understanding spread across his face. Publicly, he said. Yes. On his terms. That's risky, he said. I know. Silence settled. Different this time. Aligned. Tomorrow night, he said. Engagement dinner. Yes. He nodded once. Then we'll be ready. He turned toward the door. Paused. You handled that room better than most commanding officers I've worked with. I allowed the smallest smile. Training, I said. Yeah, he replied. I figured. The door closed behind him. Now this wasn't just about enduring. It was about positioning. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. I moved quietly downstairs. My father stood at the counter. Coffee poured. Tablet propped up. He didn't look up. I was wondering when you'd come down, he said. Good morning, I replied. He tapped something on the screen. Then turned the tablet toward me. An article. Local outlet. Clean layout. Concerns raised over military officers' stability amid family strain. I read the first paragraph. Each sentence constructed carefully. Anonymous sources. Context shaped just enough. Emotionally volatile. Estranged from family. Fixated on rank and validation. I set the tablet down. When did this go live? I asked. An hour ago. I nodded once. You move quickly, I said. I move efficiently, he corrected. I leaned lightly against the counter. This is sloppy, I said. He set his cup down. Sloppy? Rushed, I clarified. The sourcing is thin. His eyes narrowed slightly. You think you understand how this works? I think I've seen enough versions of it. Silence stretched. Then he smiled. Not warmly. You always did overestimate your perspective. Maybe. But this won't hold. He stepped closer. It doesn't need to hold, he said. It just needs to introduce doubt. There it was. Strategy. Tonight, he said, placing a folder in front of me. Is important. I didn't touch it. Emily's future depends on how this evening goes, he continued. Her fiancé's family. Their connections. Their expectations. I'm aware. Then you understand why we need to be aligned. Aligned, I repeated. You'll keep a low profile tonight, he said. No uniform. No discussions about your work. No surprises. I don't plan to cause a scene. That's not enough, he replied. You'll also sign the document. I looked at the folder. Then back at him. What document? He smiled slightly. Asset consolidation, he said. Your mother's estate was never properly structured. This simplifies things. By removing your claim. I opened it. The language was precise. Legal. Final. Irrevocable transfer. Full relinquishment. You're asking me to give up everything my mother left me, I said. I'm asking you to do what's right, he corrected. For who? For your sister. Of course. You don't need a house you never use, he continued. You don't need assets. You have your career. The way he said it. Dismissive. Contained. I'm not signing this, I said. The words quiet. Final. His expression didn't change immediately. You haven't even had it reviewed. I don't need to. That's not how responsible people operate. That's not what this is about. His voice sharpened. This is about family. No, I replied. It's about control. He took a step closer. You're going to make this difficult. I'm going to make this clear. Silence. Your attorney contact mine, I said. His eyes flashed. You're bringing lawyers into this? You already did. That's different. No, I said. It's not. He turned away. You're making a mistake, he said. I didn't respond. You always do this, he continued. You push. You resist. You turn everything into a confrontation. I'm setting a boundary. You're creating a problem. I'm refusing to be one. That stopped him. He turned back slowly. You think you're in control here? He asked. I know I am. Silence settled. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. This isn't over, he said. I didn't expect it to be. Tonight, he added. You'll do exactly what I've asked. We both knew I wouldn't. I reached into my pocket. Pulled out my phone. A message from Daniel. He posted something. Check the link. I opened it. The same article. Already spreading. I typed back. Understood. Another message. We need to talk before tonight. We met where no one would think to look. A small coffee shop just outside town. Daniel was already there. Seated in the far corner. Back to the wall. He slid a second cup toward me. Black, he said. Figured you didn't complicate things. I sat. You figured right. He studied me across the table. Have you seen it? He asked. I have. And? It's exactly what I expected. Fast. Controlled. He's not going to stop, Daniel said. Not after last night. I know. Let's talk about what happens next. How do you make it undeniable without saying it yourself? Daniel asked. You don't correct him, I said. You let him commit. Daniel's eyes sharpened. Publicly. Yes. Where he can't walk it back. That's surgical. Controlled. He nodded once. Then we need the right environment. We already have it, I replied. Tonight. Full guest list, Daniel added. Family. Business connections. People who care about reputation. People who will question him, I finished. Exactly. Silence settled again. Walk me through it, he said. Your father will speak first. He always does. Yes. And then? I don't interrupt. I don't react. You let him build the narrative. Yes. Then someone else introduces reality. He understood immediately. Not you, he said. Number. Clean. Authority. Verification. Timing. Everything. He let out a slow breath. This isn't about winning an argument, he said. No, I replied. It's about ending one. There's someone else, he said. Pentagon contact. Retired 4-star. A video this time. A man in uniform. 4 stars. No ambiguity. My name. My rank. My command. No embellishment. Just fact. I watched it once. Handed the phone back. That's enough, I said. You're not surprised? No. Ready? He asked. I answered honestly. Ready. He's going to try to isolate you before tonight, Daniel added. Private conversation. Maybe more pressure. I expect it. You don't engage, he said. Not emotionally. I document. I hold the line. He nodded. We walk out together, he said. Tomorrow night, I added, she won't know what's coming. We both said nothing more. The ballroom was exactly the kind of place my father preferred. Crystal chandeliers. Polished floors. Round tables in perfect symmetry. Reputation lived in rooms like this. I arrived 10 minutes before the program began. The dress uniform felt heavier here. I took a seat near the back. Positioned. Daniel caught my eye briefly. A glance. Confirmation. I gave the smallest nod. The MC stepped forward. Tonight, we celebrate not just a union but a family. Applause. Polite. Expected. To begin, we invite Mr. Charles Weston to say a few words. My father stood. He moved to the stage. Same confidence he had carried my entire life. Thank you, he began. The room leaned toward him. We gathered tonight for something special. A moment of transition. Of legacy. He paused. My daughter Pamela, he said, has always understood what it means to build something meaningful. Applause. Not all paths are as clear, he added. Not all choices lead where we expect them to. The room grew quieter. He glanced toward the back. Toward me. Some people lose their way, he continued. They chase things that sound important but forget what truly matters. I remained still. Hands folded. Breathing even. Let him speak. He lifted his glass slightly. But tonight, we focus on what's right. What's stable? What's worth investing in? Applause. Stronger this time. He smiled. Satisfied. He believed he had regained control. Then Daniel stood. Deliberately. Calmly. He reached for the microphone before the MC could transition. Before we continue, Daniel said, there's someone here I need to acknowledge. The room quieted. He looked toward the back. Toward me. Admiral Weston, he said clearly. The words landed. Hard. Clean. Whispers broke across the room like a wave hitting glass. Daniel didn't rush. Didn't raise his voice. He stepped back and saluted. Precise. Unmistakable. The room froze. I returned the salute. Equally precise. Then lowered my hand. Behind Daniel, the screen flickered to life. My name. My rank. My command. Official. Verified. Then the video. The 4-star general. Clear. Direct. Admiral Haley Weston currently commands. That was enough. People stood. Enough to change the energy. Applause followed. Slow at first. Then building. Not celebratory. Acknowledging. I didn't move. The point had been made. My father stepped forward. Too quickly. Too late. This is absurd, he said. There's been a misunderstanding. No one responded. Authority once introduced doesn't get easily dismissed. I stood quietly and made my way toward the exit. No one stopped me. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is leave. And let the truth remain. I didn't remember the drive home. Just motion. I turned off the engine and sat there for a moment. Mission complete. Area secure. I stepped out of the car. Walked upstairs without looking at my phone. Inside the apartment felt exactly the way I had left it. I set my keys on the counter. Pulled out my phone. The screen lit up. Dozens of notifications. I scrolled past most of them. Stopped at one. Daniel. You left before I could say anything. I typed back. You already did. A pause. He tried to recover. Didn't go well. It wouldn't. Emily's processing. She always does. A pause. I meant what I said. Back there. I know. The knock came the next morning. Sharp. Measured. I opened the door. My father stood there. He looked the same. And completely different. Posture straight. Suit perfectly fitted. Presence still controlled. But something underneath had shifted. "You're going to invite me in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He entered slowly, taking in the space with a quick glance before turning to face me. "You humiliated me," he said. I leaned lightly against the counter. "I didn't say a word," I replied. His jaw tightened. "That's not how it looked. That's not what happened." Silence. Calls. Emails. People distancing themselves, he said. "Inconvenient." His eyes flashed. "Inconvenient. Everything I built was built on perception." "No," I said evenly. "It's corrected." He stared at me. "You could have handled this differently," he said. "Privately. Respectfully. You didn't." A pause. Then quieter. "I was protecting this family. You were protecting control." Another silence. Longer. "What do you want?" he asked. The question was simple. Direct. For the first time, real. "I want boundaries," I said. He frowned. "You don't speak for me," I continued. "You don't define me. You don't reshape my life to fit your narrative." His expression tightened. "And if I don't agree?" "It doesn't require your agreement." That was the line. He looked at me for a long moment. "What about the house?" he asked. "My lawyer will be in touch." His eyes narrowed slightly. "At fair market rent. Every dollar goes into a scholarship fund." He blinked. "For families of service members who didn't come home," I said. He shook his head slowly. "You always were," he said. He turned toward the door. Paused. "You think this changes everything?" he asked. "No," I said. "It just makes everything honest." He nodded once. Then left. The door closed behind him. I moved to the window, looking out over the quiet street below. My phone buzzed. I didn't check it. Because for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to. If this story stayed with you, if you've ever felt overlooked or forced to shrink to fit someone else's expectations, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Where are you watching from? We share stories like this for Twisted Family Revenge Stories. Stories about strength, truth, and the quiet moments that change everything. Subscribe and stay with us. Let's keep going together.